This afternoon we've got coming up real Grand Prix action for you here at Phillip Island. About to go out on the grid now are the 250cc Australian Grand Prix bikes, and we'll be watching particularly the dice between the old master Jeff Sayle on Yamaha against young Daryl Beattie on the Honda. In central commentary, here's Will Hagan.
All I can say is...
to look at event 9 on what has been a superb program so far in this Shell Oil's Australian Road Race Championship on an absolutely magnificent circuit. I really, you can tot it up against me, all the favourable words I've said against and about Phillip Island circuit. It's not empty gloss and push for the Grand Prix meeting. This, I believe, I really do, is one of the world's great Grand Prix circuits. It's very rare that you have a circuit that's difficult for the riders but safe, fast, very, very good for spectators with the most glamorous surroundings on it. And all of this is combined in the Phillip Island racetrack. So the bikes now coming out for this 250cc race. In the first heat, it was Jeff Sayle beaten by the Honda rider Daryl Beattie. Jeff said, I mucked up. He said, I wanted to be back a fair way and have a charge at him, and then I started to get nervous about it and started to open up and try and come at him, and I just did it a little bit too early, and I got onto him about halfway through the corner, had to back off, and then I didn't have enough run from there onwards to be able to have a real crack at it. He said, we'll see if we can do better this time. It was a jolly good race. The two 125cc Grand Prix races have been good too. There is great depth in the ranks in Grand Prix bikes for very good reason. They're purpose-built machines in which it's technically interesting for the crews and the riders to get them to go fast, to set them up well. It's a class where for $15,000 odd in the 125 you can buy a potential race-winning bike if you're good enough to use it to win a race. And in the 250 class for say around $25,000. And as we'll see in a few weeks' time, you can go and compete in the absolute top echelon of racing in the World Championships with such a machine. So it's pretty attractive. If you do happen to make a mistake and either blow it up or crash it, in both cases they're pretty cheap to repair. So this race will be over 12 laps. That's 52 kilometres, 54 kilometres around Phillip Island. And I'm really looking forward to it. And Jeffrey Sayle, who was second in that first race, heading both to Japan tomorrow, Monday, and then coming back to Phillip Island to do round 2, and then heading on with the help of both Donny Past from Queensland and independent locksmiths to America for round 3 of the World Championships. And he and the remainder of a large field coming down now to form up on the grid. Jeffrey Sayle on 10 will be in pole position, leading the championship as he did at the start today, and still being 3 points in front. He's from a 40-point to 34-point lead when they started today, Jeff Sayle to Daryl Beattie. It's now 57 to Sayle, 54 to Beattie. And then listen to this, Stephen Whitehouse is on 38 points. Whitehouse is on bike number 72. On 37 points is Roy Leslie. He's on bike number 38. And David Moore is on 36 points. He's on bike number 41. So you can't ask for it much closer than that. Great battle at the front, good battle further down in the field. And all now just about in readiness over 8 grid rows. Nine bikes in position, and now waiting on the green light. And a good even start, and Roy Leslie gets away well from the second row on 38. But also jumping well is Whitehouse, as he did in the first race, but leading. The two favourites probably is Daryl Beattie on 16 and Jeffrey Sayle on 10. Whitehouse on 72, who got into a battle with them in the latter part of the first race, but then fell back when he went off the track at one of the braking points and had to rejoin, recovered quite well to come into a point-scoring placing. Roy Leslie, who on his day really can run very hard. David Horton's in there in 4th place of 27, and it's David Moore in 41. 5 further back was Tony Glazebrook. He came up well in the first race too. And now look at the pack behind Beattie. Whitehouse, Sayle, 72 and 10. And on 8 was Matt Cooley. Southern Loop. Sorry, Honda corner now. Southern Loop well gone. Up towards, glorious shot there, giving you a tremendous idea of both the rider challenge and also just the picturesque nature of this circuit. Up out of Siberia corner and off around the back, and again a superb idea of the fast-flowing, beautifully radius layout of this Grand Prix track. Daryl Beattie in charge at the moment. Whitehouse, Sayle, Moore. Of Loopy Heights here. Really difficult corner to get both your line and your braking point right. Very little to identify with, to sort of mark yourself against. Daryl Beattie on 16, chased by Whitehouse on 72. Comes down the straight. And Sayle comes up in a second past Whitehouse. David Horton's there in 4th. You're watching them at nearly 240 kilometres an hour. Now they peel off. Daryl Beattie into the right-hand south curve. There's the Southern Loop waiting for him. Sit up and pull it back another cod. And then get in there and load the tyres up on the left-hander and keep it there a long, long time. David Moore's the 5th of that bunch of 5 at the front end on 41. Leading another bunch on 5 was Glazebrook. Beattie getting away just a little bit, but he's not going to get away with it. Roy Leslie on 38 heads the second bunch. And Oldfield we saw in there, Chris Oldfield on 52. He's just in behind Neil Cubitt on 47. So 150.66 their fastest, their first lap time from the standing start. And again, a superb idea of the layout around the back, the slightly raised back section of the Phillip Island track. 18-year-old Daryl Beattie. Leslie in trouble, 38. Neil Cubitt there, further back on 47, the good rider who's been out for a little while, but along with many others wanting to get into it with the added spur of a World Championship start. And Beattie not getting away. Whitehouse staying with him on 72. Jeff Sayle coming down the straight again. Sayle to take over second place, and Horton and David Moore make up that bunch. Heading the next is 12 Michael O'Connor, and that time they do a 43.27. A time beaten by only a few of the superbikes in the previous race. About 6 bikes in the Superbike Championship round beat that time. Other than that, the 250s are right among them. Beattie, Sayle, Whitehouse, Horton, 27, Moore on 41, and there O'Connor is on 12, and it is just starting now to sprinkle. And if there's ever a curse to this racetrack, it is that it's so close to the ocean that it gets the elements in fairly generous profusion, and sometimes a bit frequently in a day. Been glorious here through testing in the summer. Only Kajita have suffered any real problems, other than problems with animals. People have hit all manner of birds. Kevin McGee's had a fly in the main jet of the carburettor. But the flyers are down today on a very pleasantly coolish day at Phillip Island, and Daryl Beattie being caught and reined right in by Jeffrey Sayle on 10. Then it's Whitehouse back on 72. In behind him is 27 is Horton, and 41 David Moore makes up the tail end of the bunch of 5. But very close now, and Daryl Beattie very wisely looks back and sees what's happening down his left-hand side as Jeffrey Sayle with a 143.28, and now down the end of the straight very forcefully looked to go down the inside, and I think Sayle was determined to do it, but Beattie was equally determined to hold him out. And yes, Jeffrey Sayle very definitely wants the lead, wants to get serious about it right now. But a good bit of forceful comeback there from Daryl. Beattie said, no way. I'm going fast enough to stay in front, and that's what I'm doing. And Whitehouse is third, and Horton's very nearly back to fifth as David Moore ranges around him. Then it's O'Connor on 12, and Matt Cooley on 8. This is the leading bunch, and Jeffrey Taylor, you couldn't ask for closer, harder racing than this in any category.
Well, this is a superb race, with the race running very similar to the previous race. Daryl Beattie's having not an easy time leading it with Jeff Sayle. Stephen Whitehouse is doing a good job picking up. His bike is noticeably slower down the straight than the other two. He's making up for in the back there.
Jeffrey Sayle seems to have plenty of straight line speed too, which can imply two things. One, that he's got sheer grunt, or that he's getting onto the straight well through the final corner.
Well, that's right. I think it's probably a combination of both. Jeffrey rides it very well, and he would have the bike set up to his liking.
Horton's established himself a little bit in fourth place on 27, and David Moore in fifth on 41, hanging on well. He's a tall, fairly solid man, David Moore. He'd be the biggest and the heaviest of all five of them. By far, Jeffrey Sayle in the lead, streams past Daryl Beattie, absolutely rockets past him as they come down the straight, and then coming back, or joining them, is Whitehouse. So what a run across the start-finishing line as Daryl Beattie, the most brave under brakes, surges forward to the lead. And Whitehouse, as he did, except earlier than in the previous... Oh, no, it's Sayle. Back down under Whitehouse, but Whitehouse cut and thrusting with the leading pair. Upset their calculations a little bit. David Horton's in there on 27. And David Moore not far behind on 41. Good stuff. Great Grand Prix racing. Sayle, front now of Beattie. Can he make any good of it? Past experience over the previous three heats that we've seen them in the Australian Road Race Championships, 2 at Simmons Plains, 1 earlier here today at Phillip Island, suggests no, neither of them can. The 34-year-old Sayle and the 18-year-old Beattie have very little difference between the two of them. Stephen Whitehouse, doing well on 72, is right in among them, and David Horton's coming up to join them too. Off Lukey Heights. Brake hard, get your line absolutely right, open the taps as quickly and as early as you can, because the run round here determines your speed to some extent down the straight. If you do this well, you can maintain the margin for, what, 3/4 of a minute, very nearly, Jeffrey Taylor?
That's right. It's a very important corner, this one, and it's very much illustrated as they are now. A good run under here in April Slipstream. You can make up quite a lot of ground. There's Stephen Whitehouse there, who's down on power, but he's in Jeff's Slipstream. He can make up quite a lot of ground. And he's in fact pulled out in front of him. In the previous 125cc race, two riders shouldered each other coming down the straight, and it set up a wobble on one bike that very nearly, it looked as though it was under threat of bringing the bike down. And they weren't so very far apart either, those guys. Remember, they really were doing 240 kilometres an hour, and a fairly large tablecloth would have covered 3 of them. Sayle 10, Whitehouse 72, Horton 27. One Honda, the rest Yamahas. The Honda's leading. Very similar 2-stroke engines, 2-cylinder, 250cc's, square dimensions, 54 by 54 bore and stroke. Not a great number of crashes today, and to my knowledge, no rider damage till now. That rider's not looking so well as we watch Whitehouse pursuing Beattie, being pursued by Sayle, and Horton watching on 27. And wondering and trying to work out what you have to do to beat these guys. 42.56 as Sayle goes down the pit lane. Well, not the entry, but the other side of the pit wall. And then they do a 42.7 for the flying lap.
And Stephen Whitehouse on 72. By my measure, if he holds it together and doesn't make a mistake, he's just showing perhaps a little bit of extra determination. I don't know if he's got the bike to do it, but just get the feeling that in this company, Whitehouse is saying, look, I want to beat you guys, and I'm prepared to do whatever's necessary to do so. We'll see. If he does that, he's really going to have to work hard. Look at this. For the first three in a race. You don't see this very often in a motor race. You don't see them so close together, and you don't see the lead chopping and changing so much. And David Horton in there too, still a quite potential threat to the three of them, not very far behind them at all. Down the straight. Leading around the back section. This will take them up towards Lukey Heights, the bituminizing plant area there that actually did the racetrack. And that's where there's a bit of a join in the racetrack too, round the back there. Makes a real thump and unsettles the bike just a little bit. But overall, the surface both very grippy. And that's off Lukey Heights from a different angle, gives you good perspective. A little bit hillier than it's shown there, or than it seemed to be. And now head round, great shot. And really giving you a great impression of this lovely piece of Victoria, 30-odd kilometres long and nearly 20 kilometres wide, so quite a big island, and joined by a permanent road and bridge from the mainland. And now completing 7, so just over half race distance, and Whitehouse into the lead over Beattie and Sayle. And getting to the stage, what do you think, Geoffrey Taylor, former Australian sidecar champion, where to win this one, you're going to have to produce a little bit more grim determination than the other man.
Well, Stephen Whitehouse had a look in the first race, and he was well in contention until he ran off the track, so he's probably got a lot of confidence from that, but he's certainly doing a good job here.
54, the bike they just slotted past on both sides, Michael Maloney. One can hardly imagine where a name or a person with the name of Michael Maloney would have come from. Whitehouse, Sayle, Beattie got the third now. Just tremendous, flat out, full biscuit racing. Fabulous stuff. And David Kotek, the man on 25, being lapped there as this flying trio motors by. Lapping consistently in the 142s now, which time would have put them ahead probably of the 5th fastest bike in the Superbike race, Michael Dowson on a Yamaha FZR 750. So, Whitehouse from Sayle. Beattie dispatched for the moment. On the straight again. Over to the pit counter goes Geoffrey Sayle, and carting Whitehouse out with him, really running him out very wide and returning a 142.9 second lap. And Whitehouse says, listen, mate, I don't care where you take me, but I'm going through this bottom corner, the south curve, faster than you. And Sayle says, fair enough, I'll come round the other side and head you into the southern loop. And they're on lap 9. And Beattie's looking back and saying, goodness me, I don't mind going fast, but these guys are at it, hammer and tongs. Geoffrey Sayle's bike, as you saw, got out sideways there, so it was absolutely on the limit. And again, still watching, still gloriously positioned, but not shining at this stage, David Horton on 27. Asked for better racing on any form of machinery. Superb stuff. And Horton there on 27 in 4th place. So close to the race lead, and yet he's never been better than 4th. But he's been well within a second of it, as he is at the moment. He's looking at 3rd place now. But relegated to 4th. Well, they go off Lukey Heights again. Left in. Out. A bit of a fall down into that, and a bit of a climb back out of it. Needs a lot of power on nice and early to get out of there smartly. And at the right line too. Well, here they are, the leading four, absolutely locked together, coming round to complete lap 9. Still 3 wonderful laps to go, as down goes Daryl Beattie, and in 1 bike length, the 3 leaders cross the line together, 3/4 race distance, and Beattie surges from 3rd to 1st, and Whitehouse goes back into 2nd, and Jeffrey Sayle in the race lead within the last lap is back to 3rd place, and David Horton looks on and says, this is amazing. And Jeffrey Sayle goes past Whitehouse, and he comes up to 2nd place. And they did a 1:42.9 second lap there. Rene Bonga's lap record was 1:43.3. Consistently, nearly half a second under the lap record. They go round and round on a thrilling circuit in thrilling racing in the Shell Oils Australian 250cc Road Racing Championships. Look at that! The first 4 bikes in the 10th lap of a 12-lap race over 54 kilometres, and David Horton now is 3rd. Whitehouse, who was leading, is 4th. That is the way to go motor racing. And the youngest man in the bunch is the leader. The oldest man in the bunch is just behind him. And David Horton is saying, I want a bit of this. I've been travelling with you guys, but back in 4th, I think I'll get amongst it. That bike just in front of the group leader, Daryl Beattie, on the 10th lap. Jeffrey Sayle lurking up and wanting him. Horton 3rd, 27, and Whitehouse 4th on 72. And remember how brave at the end of the straight Whitehouse is on 72. Let's see what he can do this time. If he's game enough and fast enough, he's certainly not close enough to do anything with it at the moment. So it's between Sayle and Beattie, and it's Beattie the young man. And then it is Horton up from 4th to 2nd now, and Whitehouse ranging on them as well. Oh, absolutely superb stuff. Jeffrey Sayle back at Horton, and Horton's in the lead. And Sayle's in 2nd, and the race leader's back to 3rd in the absolute blink of an eye and half a corner. And it's a 42.67 second lap time. And David Horton's in the race lead, and Jeffrey Sayle wants him. Who wants to race hotted up road bikes when a Grand Prix purpose-built machine, oh dear, they touch wheels. David Horton, when they can race this hard and this close and this fast, and a race-winning machine is this cheap for $25,000, and I'm sure we all wish Jeffrey Sayle well when he goes to Japan to race next weekend in the opening round of the World Championships, and wish that more Aussies could afford to go there with him. Sayle, Horton, Whitehouse, and then Beattie. Now Horton, Sayle, Whitehouse and Beattie. Well done, David Horton, lurking and watching back there in 4th place, and now right into it. What a screamer, what a beauty. David Horton from Sayle, Whitehouse and Beattie. Yes, Beattie, the race leader, has gone back to 4th, but everybody's been in every position, haven't they? They're coming down to complete 11. They're going out now on the final lap. In this absolutely thrilling road race, it's Jeffrey Sayle now. It's Daryl Beattie. Beattie up from 4th to 1st, and it's Whitehouse who was in among them, who's back to 4th, and it was Horton who was leading, who was 3rd, and now he's 2nd, and he's looking at 1st, but he's slotting into 2nd, and they've done a 42.98. They're still under the 43s, and quite obviously, nobody knows who's going to win it. The riders certainly don't, and the sort of plot and plan that Jeffrey Sayle was talking about earlier on as he slips around the outside now really goes to dust a little bit when you've got 2 other bikes in there as well. You're not just racing against one man, you're racing against 3 others. It is very, very hard to work out at that time a team or an individual tactic. So, on the last half lap of Phillip Island, 52 seconds into the lap that should take them about 1:42, they come up around the back towards Lukey Heights, and it is Daryl Beattie, David Horton, Jeffrey Sayle, Stephen Whitehouse. Honda leads Yamaha. This was very much Honda's purpose in getting Beattie onto a 250, and now they come down into here off Lukey Heights, and Beattie has the major advantage. There's no question of that. As he starts to stream away on the Honda number 16, And it is Daryl Beattie just settling himself, and Jeffrey Sayle's in second place, and Horton's third, and at the moment Whitehouse is fourth, and that's the way they go across the line. It was Daryl Beattie on 16, from Jeffrey Sayle on 10, from David Horton on 27, and Stephen Whitehouse, 72, came home in fourth place. And to do that, Daryl Beattie had to produce a new lap record, a 1:41.6. Now, in the Superbike race, Mal Campbell did a 39.8, Rob Phillis did a 40.2, Aaron Slight did a 41.5.6, and Sean Gallagher did a 41.5. They're the fifth fastest bike on the day, was Daryl Beattie on 16. Didn't they love it? Didn't they earn the crowd applause, which certainly they're getting now as they go round on their final slowing down lap? And that's certainly the result. Beattie, 16, the youngest man of the bunch from the oldest, but two of them tremendous riders. 18-year-old beats 34. The 34-year-old's going to do 3 World Championship GPs this year. His first World Championship GP since 1982 for Jeffrey Sayle. Third in a World Championship GP when he was campaigning constantly out of Europe, and in fact when he was over there and welcomed a young guy from Australia called Wayne Gardner from Wollongong, and sort of said, well, this is England, and welcome, and I hope you go well. And Jeffrey Sayle was able to help Wayne Gardner over there in his early days. So that was 159.5 kilometres now average for that last lap of Daryl Beattie, 1:41.6, and it gave us the race time of 20 minutes and 41 seconds to average 156.6 kilometres an hour for the race winner, young Honda rider Daryl Beattie. Well, Jeffrey Taylor, the race didn't go off. It got better and better to be an absolute beauty.
Well, I think you could travel anywhere in the world. You'd never see a race as good as that. That was superb. And Daryl Beattie showed a very good race brain there. He pulled a fast lap when it was required. That was on the last lap.
And further back, things were just as interesting too, because we saw Chris Oldfield come into 5th place and push David Moore on 41 back to 6th.
Congratulations, Darren. It's a great race.
And we'll be back very shortly with more top action from Phillip Island.